Thank you, and welcome to part 2. Question for you: How many of you have heard Leo Burnett mentioned in the news recently? If you're from the Chicago area, it's difficult to see hands up here. Okay, yeah. Why have you heard of Leo Burnett recently?
Because that stuff Wallenda guy is going to hook a cable to your building and walk across the river.
Yes, Nick Wendella on November 2nd at 6 o'clock is going to do a tightrope walk from Marina Towers to the Leo Burnett building on the Discovery Channel. So we're really excited about it. I'm actually running a leadership development program for a group of 40 people from across the Leo Burnett Global Network that will be in Chicago that week. And I'm really praying that everything is going to go really, really well that particular walk, and that Nick makes it safely from Marina Towers to the Leo Burnett building on November 2nd. It'll be on the Discovery Channel at 6 o'clock. So thank you for having me here today. I'm going to speak to you about creating people management skills at Leo Burnett. And before I talk about creating people management skills, I do work for an advertising agency, so I need to take an opportunity to tell you a little bit about Leo Burnett, the company. So prior to going down, I should talk to you about what I want to share with you today. I'm going to talk to you about how we identify the need for the people management program, which we refer to just as the PMP. I'm going to talk to you about how we make the PMP highly personal and experiential, and then how the PMP has been received within our global network. So a little bit about Leo Burnett. Leo Burnett is a global advertising company. We were actually founded in Chicago at the Palmer House Hilton in 1935, and next year we will be celebrating our 80th anniversary right here in Chicago. And over the last 80 years, we have grown to be over 8,000 individuals. We're in 96 offices and in 84 countries. We used to be a fiercely independent integrated marketing communications firm, and then we were acquired by the Publicis Group years ago, so we are now owned by the French. We've had the pleasure of having some very, very well-known brands as part of our portfolio. So you see some of our blue chip clients listed here, listed on the slides, but we've had very long-standing relationships with McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Samsung, and such. And particularly if you think about some of the tear-jerker commercials that you may have seen from Hallmark or McDonald's, Leo Burnett is behind that, the Marlboro Man campaign, for Philip Morris International, and most recently a campaign that two campaigns I would mention that we're known for recently is the Allstate Mayhem campaign is from Leo Burnett, and a campaign that's relatively new that's getting a lot of really good press is the Like a Girl campaign for Always. But that's a little bit about our agency. Our purpose, which is also referred to as, a lot of companies refer to this as their vision statement or mission statement, but our purpose is to be the world's best creator of ideas that truly move people, bar none. And we are in the business of creativity. If you look at our purpose statement, when you look at the spirit and the attributes that are listed to the left, going from the reaching to the stars down to the attributes from creative to winners, those are what our core competencies. And when we look for talent to join our agency and the talent that we want to retain, this is our price of admission, if you will. If you don't have those core attributes / competencies, then you're not a Burnetter. So everything that we do when it pertains to the development of our people, whether it's entry-level skill building to management development, leadership development, we all look at that spirit for reaching for the stars, and those attributes in our programs are in service of ensuring that our people have those particular skills. On the left, you see our beliefs, and there's a few of them, but the one I want to focus on as it pertains to our development is that we have a belief that we are only as good as our people, right? Our product is a result of how good our people are, so we have a heavy emphasis on our individuals, always working with the best people, and we believe in being eternal students of life. And As somebody who's responsible for leadership and development at Leo Burnett, I'm thrilled that those are 3 of our belief statements, because that's job security for me. So I hope that our purpose statement remains the way it is, so that I'll always have job security. I want to talk to you a little bit about identifying the need for the people management program. Approximately 10 years ago, we had a new CEO that was joining the agency, and at that time I was asked to do performance appraisals inclusive of 360 feedback among our most senior executive leadership team. And the results of that performance appraisal cycle of our senior executives revealed some developmental needs that we needed to address, not only for our existing leaders, but also for our up-and-coming leaders. For when those needs were identified for the current leaders, we engaged in a pretty extensive executive coaching program for current leaders. But we wanted to get ahead of giving individuals at the most senior level, we didn't want to provide everybody executive coaching at all levels. So in an effort to get ahead of that, we created what was introduced in 2008 as the Leo Burnett Senior Management Program. And the intent behind the senior management program was really to look at our next tier senior executives and focus on 4 primary development areas. And it was on asserting their authority as executive leaders and really taking up their authority as a leader and having confidence in being a leader, to build and lead effective teams. We wanted them to grow the business. This was all about consultative selling, cross-selling, and solving problems, both team problems, agency problems. And what we delivered for about 3 years was a senior leadership program that lasted between 8 and 10 days, focused in on these four particular content areas. And during the 3rd year of sitting in the back and watching this program evolve, I started to look at the talent in the room and really realized that we had pretty senior talent sitting in the room, ranging from individuals that were leading our worldwide accounts, leading our agencies, and realized that we had very senior people seated in our senior management program, but that we were spending a lot of time on that build and lead effective teams area. In fact, about 75% of the content we were delivering in the senior management program was about building and leading effective teams. So I asked the question of the group. I said, who here manages people? Knowing full well that everybody was going to end up raising their hand because they probably wouldn't be in our program if they weren't leading large groups of people. And then I asked the question, who here has received formal development on how to actually manage people? And very surprisingly, 1 or very few hands actually went up. And a key learning for us at that time was that the talent in the room, which generally consisted of account managers, planners, creatives, project managers, the talent in the room was primarily promoted because of their talent in delivering functional skills, right? They were really good at their jobs. And people get promoted because they're really talented and were being promoted at doing good at their jobs. But what we hadn't ever formally taught them or really given an opportunity to do was how to effectively lead and manage people. In fact, I would say as an agency, we did a disservice to our talent because we were asking them to migrate from being really strong individual contributors and having strong functional skills to taking up pretty senior executive leadership positions without ever giving them the opportunity to transition from being a strong individual contributor to being a good manager of people and then migrating to be a leader. So what we did is I extracted all the content from the senior leadership program that had to do with managing people and created the people management program. And really the primary purpose of the people management program was designed to help build the knowledge and skills required to manage people and just really focus on people management. So there are 3 primary objectives in the people management program. 1 is to just raise self-awareness. we realized that we hadn't really given people any opportunity to stop and think about themselves as a boss, as an individual, in terms of what motivates them at work, and how their behavior was impacting that of the behaviors of others or their team members. So within that learning objective, we look at defining what it means to be a good manager and how to be a good boss, understand motivations and management strengths, how to better communicate, inspire, and help cooperation. And one of my favorite things at Leo Burnett, because we tend to be a pretty conflict-adverse agency, is how to effectively manage conflict and have difficult conversations in the workplace. The second was to build and lead effective teams, is really defining what is a high-performing team, how do you design it, how do you better facilitate group processes, and how do you build that collaboration. And third is how to retain talent. And we've talked about, some of our earlier speakers today talked about retaining talent. But one of the things we wanted to understand is what are the drivers of employee engagement at Leo Burnett. So we conduct an annual people survey that measures performance within our agency network, and we felt it was important that our people managers know what the results of that survey was and what really drives engagement at the agency. How to document and deliver effective performance appraisals. We found that a lot of our talent, a lot of our managers and leaders don't like to give performance appraisals because they've never experienced what a good performance appraisal process or cycle has been like. And we really wanted to employ the best practice of manager coaches, really let them know what a true performance culture is like and what they can experience and what their role is as a manager of people is like. So the people management program, these are our three main tenets that we look at to deliver. I'll be first to admit that we are in a creative agency, and I think that generally my audience has attention deficit disorder. For them to sit in a classroom from 8 to 5 for a few consecutive days is horrifying to them. So the programs that we deliver, I task my team with what I call to be entertainment, right? If the people in the seats are not constantly being entertained, if they're not moving around, if they're not learning about themselves or seeing new and exciting things, then we're not going to keep them engaged. So any program that we deliver, including our people management program, has to be highly interactive, highly engaging, and highly personal. So I'm going to, at a high level, kind of walk you through what our 4-day people management program looks like and what we do to actually engage our people in the content. On day 1, we started with a welcome introduction and program expectations. That sounds pretty simple. But one of the things that we've learned is that what we need to do at the beginning of a program is give our participants, we need to retrain them to learn, if you will. Our talent is so focused on servicing the clients, coming up with a creative product, that sometimes we just need to give them permission to take some time to think about themselves, to learn again, and set up an environment where we create a safe learning environment for them. So we actually do spend quite a bit of time in the welcome program to talk about, you're here because we believe in you, you are a talent in the agency, it's not you're doing something wrong, but we have faith in you, we're going to continue to invest in you. The first session we get into is great managers and horrible mistakes. And what we do within this session is we look at career progression and what makes people have highly effective careers and what some of the career derailments are. And letting people understand that what has made you successful getting to where you are today may not be what is going to make you successful from being where you are today to the next career progression. So we talk to them about various stages in your career and what you can do within those various stages to continue to be successful. And you'll see at the top that we've got an exercise that says, think of the best boss you've ever had and what did he or she do to make such a great experience for you. And we also talk about the worst boss they've ever had. So it becomes a great exercise. We get a list of, okay, here are characteristics of really great bosses, and here are characteristics of bad bosses. And time after time, we deliver this program all over the world, multiple times a year. Those lists are very similar, but it kind of raises that self-awareness in terms of what you look for in great managers and great leaders. The second topic that we talk about on day one is what motivates you and those around you. And this is also when we start to introduce the results of one of 4 self-assessments that we deliver as part of this program. And we are very deliberate in having self-assessments be part of the people management program because we firmly believe that raising an individual's self-awareness of what motivates them, their behaviors, their styles, can have a great impact in terms of how well of a people manager they are. But in terms of what motivates you and what motivates those around you, the first thing that we help them understand is that not everyone is motivated by the same motivations, right? Money does not motivate everybody. So we look at both intrinsic and extrinsic motivators that people have, and we use, the London Business School has an assessment called the Work Interest Schedule, and it measures to what degree people are motivated as individuals among 10 factors. And you see the list going down from money all the way to personal growth. And we talk about how those motivators can also change over time, right? So when I'll speak for me personally, when I was young and just getting started in my career, pay was important and prestige was important. Now that I've got a 9 and 11-year-old at home, being able to go home at 5 o'clock at night so I can put my kids to bed is more important to me than pay. And I know this is being videotaped, so don't show this back at Leo Burnett, but it's just an important thing to show that what motivates people across their career progression changes over time, and we raise people's awareness that those motivators change and when to pull those levers. And then that evening and generally no matter where in the world we deliver it, we have a cooking event. In Chicago we go to the chopping block where we bring everybody together and they cook a meal together and share bread, and it's just a way to get the groups to interact. In Chicago, when we deliver the program in Chicago, all the participants in the people management program are from Chicago, but we deliver this program in Europe, in Asia, and the beauty of those programs are that when we deliver a program in Hong Kong or in Mexico or Paris, we get people from across the region to come together. So the cooking night is a great tool to get people from different geographies to start to get to know and talk to one another. And what they learn that night is that while we all work in the same industry and we have different clients and different projects, that some of the challenges we share as managers are very similar. On day 2, every day we begin with a daily review. And the way we facilitate the daily review is to have 2 people from the class talk about what they learned the previous day and present that back to the entire class. Then we go into building high-performance teams. A lot of our individuals don't know necessarily about what the characteristics of what an effective team is, the various roles different individuals can play in group dynamics. Are you a leader? Are you a shaper? Are you an influencer? So this is where we introduce the second self-assessment, which is the Belbin Team Role Assessment. So prior to coming to the PMP, they take this assessment, and when we start talking about teams and characteristics of highly effective teams, after that they get their Belbin Team Role Report, which demonstrates which team preferences they have. Then we get into managing your boss. A lot of the people management program is focused on how to manage others that report into them. This is all about how to manage up. And the key driver for them that we help them understand is that your boss is an individual and a human being as well. And you need to start viewing your boss as an individual, and your job as a boss of others, as a manager, is to help your boss be as effective and successful as possible. So we talk about managing up and how to effectively do that. And then we get into managing conflict. We talk about what are characteristics of good and bad conflict, when should you address conflict, what are the tactics you can use to have difficult conversations. And this is where we introduce a third assessment tool, which is the Thomas Kilmann conflict assessment mode, where people learn about their conflict and preferential styles. On day 3, we talk about influencing styles and influencing without authority. And we use the 1952 movie 12 Angry Men as a case study. We call it the Influencing Masterclass, but we use Henry Fonda's character as being part of the jury and the different characteristics and styles that he uses to influence a jury. So we really use that as a case study to demonstrate influencing. The rest of the day, talent development and coaching, the way we behave and operate in creating a performance culture, really talks about a manager's role in giving consistent, effective performance feedback to talent. We do talk about performance appraisals, but we send a very strong message that a performance appraisal once a year is not enough, and that you should never deliver a performance appraisal to your individuals where an individual receives surprise feedback. So that day is very much about creating a performance culture within Leo Burnett and what our expectations from them as a manager. And we do put them through, we teach them coaching skills, and then we have them apply those coaching skills in a triad where in one scenario they're being coached, in another scenario they are coaching others, and in the third scenario they are watching a coaching process. And I always sneak in your role as a manager of agency finances, because I believe that everybody in our agency is responsible for the growth of our company, our financial growth. So we demonstrate to them what their role is in helping the agency drive growth from a financial perspective, and how our biggest cost within the agency is people, and they, as managers of people, need to understand how managing people has a cost associated with that as well. The last day really focuses on two primary topics. One is giving and receiving feedback. And we do a really interesting exercise that day that scares our people to death when they first hear about it, but it is actually the most effective module of the entire program. And this is where we split the group into groups of 4 or 5, and we give them about 3 hours on the last day, and they receive feedback from others. And the feedback that they receive is how they are being perceived in terms of being task or people-oriented. And we ask them, what scares me the most about working for you? What would I look forward to? What is it about you that I would look forward to in terms of working with you? And if there's one gift I could give to you, what would that be? And examples of gifts was, we have one individual who works on the Samsung account, and one of the gifts that he was given from somebody was like an Apple iPhone, so he'd have a different perspective. So those are kind of things that we talk about. And then lastly, we work with them on creating an action plan that, based on the information that they've received through the people management program, that they actually put their learnings into action. And I'm out of time, so I'm going to briefly say how the program has been received. We deliver the program now to approximately 200 people across our global network. They are delivered regionally. The satisfaction in terms of how we meet learning objectives are always between a 4.5 and a 5-point scale. And the program reinforces what we want our people managers to be in our network, and has really become a culture builder. And Leo Burnett himself said when he was alive that it is apparent that the company can't be any better or bigger than the growth of the people in it. So we firmly believe that the Leo Burnett People Management Program has been a true contributor to helping both our people and our company grow. Thank you.